Have you ever had an idea that was so good, so pure, so full of holiday spirit, that it just had to be a complete and utter disaster? That was us last Christmas. The mission, Operation Caroling Cheer, the team, Mom, the only one who could actually hold a tune. Dad, a self-proclaimed harmony expert, my brother, whose singing volume could rival a jet engine but whose pitch was, let's say, avant, and me, enthusiastically humming along because lyrics are hard. Our song of choice, Jingle Bells, and only Jingle Bells. We practiced it relentlessly. We're talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner rehearsals. The living room became a war zone of clashing notes. Dad would attempt a complex harmony that sounded less like music and more like a distressed moose. My brother would belt out Jingle all the way, with the force of a sonic boom, completely drowning out Mom's perfectly on-key melody. And I was there, a human kazoo, humming my little heart out. We sounded less like a choir and more like a beautiful, chaotic, auditory accident. But we were having the time of our lives. Finally, the big night arrived, bundled up in mismatched scarves and hats. We stood on our front porch, breath fogging in the frosty air. We were ready. Our first target, the legendary Mr. Jenkins next door. Mr. Jenkins wasn't just grumpy. He was a connoisseur of grumpiness. His "Get Off My Lawn" sign wasn't a suggestion, it was a creed. Taking a deep breath, we lined up on his walkway, a motley crew of musical misfits on a mission from Santa. I gave the nod. The performance began. Jingle bells, jingle bells. It was loud. It was offbeat. It was gloriously, passionately sincere. My brother's voice cracked the stillness of the night. Dad's harmony took a scenic detour through a key that hasn't been invented yet. And my humming provided a surprisingly wobbly bass line. Mom just closed her eyes, singing with the focus of a professional trying to herd a flock of tone-deaf sheep. We were a symphony of joyful noise. About halfway through, Dad's harmony went completely rogue, wandering off into its own bizarre atonal universe. He just shrugged and committed to it. We finished with a final, booming hey, and a dramatic flourish, arms outstretched. Then, silence. A long, heavy, soul-crushing silence. The kind of quiet that makes you question all your life choices. And then, click, Mr. Jenkins's porch light flicked off, plunging us into darkness. A collective sigh escaped our little group. Defeated, we turned to leave, our boots crunching sadly on the snowy path. It was a failure, a spectacular, off-key failure. But just as we reached the sidewalk, we heard a creak. We all froze, turning back to see Mr. Jenkins's front door inching open. A sliver of warm light cut through the dark. He stood there, silhouetted in the doorway, his face as stern as ever. In his hands, he held a plate piled high with the most gloriously misshapen, lumpy, and clearly homemade cookies I had ever seen. He didn't smile. He didn't say Merry Christmas. He just shuffled forward and thrust the plate in my mom's direction. For the noise, he muttered, his voice a low grumble, and with that he turned, went back inside, and shut the door. We stood there in the cold, staring at the plate. The cookies looked terrible, and they were the most wonderful things we had ever seen. We looked from the cookies to each other, and slowly, a grin spread across every single one of our faces. We hadn't just sung a song. We had broken through the fortress of Grump. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about sharing a little bit of loud, messy, ridiculous joy, and in that moment, holding a plate of terrible, wonderful cookies. We felt like we had truly won Christmas. So next time you think you're not good enough to do something, just remember our caroling adventure. Sometimes, the best results come from the most imperfect efforts. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to spread a little joyful noise of your own. See you next time.